Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Brandy Jones, the organizing director here at Secure Families Initiative. And this week, we wanted to remind you that today is National Voter Registration Day. So please be sure you're registered to vote. If you have any questions, or even if you'd like to host a voter registration drive on your own, please reach out to us at Secure Families Initiative. We have all the information you need. This past weekend, we celebrated Constitution Day, and September 17th through the 23rd is Constitution Week, and celebration of the nearly 250 years ago when our founding fathers set in motion an experiment that changed the world. Today, we'd like to welcome Reisha Raney, a very special guest whose family members' ideas helped contribute to the Constitution. Hi, Reisha. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you for having me and inviting me.
Please, we'd like to start by sharing a little bit about your family history, your story.
Yeah, well, I discovered from my cousin's research, my cousin Gus Granger Turpin, who researched for about 20 years before we had all of the internet capabilities. He searched and found out that we descend from, and I descend from, Thomas Jefferson's grandfather. So, President Thomas Jefferson, our third president of the United States of America, is my sixth, seventh great grandfather. And
Wow.
I descend from him through an enslaved woman named Mary. So, my fifth great grandfather, his name is Thomas Turpin. He fought in the Revolutionary War. Thomas Turpin married Mary Jefferson, who was the aunt of President Thomas Jefferson. So through them, they had a grandson named Edwin Turpin. Edwin Turpin married an enslaved woman named Mary from Louisiana. They moved to Goochland County, which is now near Richmond, today's Richmond, Virginia, and he took her to Canada to get married because it was not legal to marry an enslaved woman. And he took her there to just say, I'm making this legal, which is just such a powerful story. And he brought her back to Virginia where they lived in the same home together. And the neighbors protested. They didn't like it. They burnt their house down. They rebuilt. And back in that time, it was very common for a white man, because Edwin was white, to have both a white wife and an enslaved wife, quote unquote wife, not really a wife, but to have an enslaved mistress. He never had a white wife. So it was very unique, a very unique story that he only was and with married to my ancestor, Mary, who was enslaved.
That's an incredible story, in American history. I'd like to share that Risa and I met as both being members of the Daughters of the American Revolution. I as well have an ancestor who fought in the American Revolution. It was my seventh time great grandfather, Henry Dorton. I mean, I'm just so impressed with everything you're doing. Maybe if you could share more about your work within this unique American story.
Yes, because I'm a direct descendant, as you are, of a patriot of the American Revolution. My family encouraged me, specifically my father, he encouraged me to join the Daughters of the American Revolution. So I am a member. I joined in 2010, and I know Brandy, you joined just recently in April 2022. So you're a very new member. And from that, I became involved at starting at the chapter level. I became the leader of the chapter, which is called the chapter regent. I never imagined that I would become so involved with the organization. I just kind of popped in and I got interested because I really enjoy the sisterhood and the friendship from the ladies and the women in the society. And from that, I became the first Black state officer for the state of Maryland in the history of the society, and maybe the fifth for any state in the entire history of the Daughters of the American Revolution. And now I'm a national vice chairperson for African American specialty lineage research. So I've kind of like really gotten involved with the society. And from that, I also met other women of color. So other African American members. A lot of people don't even think we exist. Yes, the DAR has Black members.
Yes,
We're looking at
we're
some.
here.
We're here. And we're not the only two. Although our numbers aren't large, we do have a presence, and a lot of them are taking leadership positions just like me. And on even higher levels, we have had our first national board member, Wilhelmina Rhodes Kelly, although she's no longer with us, she passed away, but she was the first Black state leader. They call it a regent as well. So I want to tell the stories about these women who joined the society that people don't even know that we exist and that we have this heritage, and our ancestors contributed to the founding of the United States of America. And so I started a research project, which is at Harvard University. It is under the direction of Professor Henry Louis Gates Jr. Most people who are into
Amazing.
genealogy may know him, especially for the show Finding Your Roots, and he has numerous PBS specials. And so I am collecting the narratives and the oral histories of women of color, specifically Black women, in the Daughters of the American Revolution. And that project is called Daughter Dialogues. And
Wow.
it's also the oral histories. I'm publishing them in the form of a podcast, although it's not a podcast. This is a research project. And these oral histories will be preserved into perpetuity at Harvard University's Schlesinger Library for Women, which is arguably the world's largest women's history library. And so there, these histories will be preserved forever.
Oh, Risa, I'm just so impressed, and I'm so honored that I will be featured in an upcoming
Yes.
episode of your Daughter Dialogues. I mean, I am just blown away to hear the history of how you came to find this organization, and then how you're continuing to just break barriers and just do things that have never been done before.
Thank you.
I just love that. At SFI, we like to believe, like within our military families, we have a unique role in this time, in this movement, much like our ancestors who came before us, who fought in the American Revolution. So I'm just so honored to be here with you today and just talk and share this history with our members. And I would just like to say, how can people find more about you? Your social media?
Yeah, so the best way is daughterdialogues.com. And it has links to all the social media pages and all of our handles. And it has all of the links to the podcast. So you can listen to the podcast directly from daughterdialogues.com and select dialogues, or any podcast application or platform it's on. So you can hear it there as well. And linking this to the Constitution, as we know in the preamble, it says that we're working to form a more perfect union. And I hope that some of these stories do help us achieve, because I believe that the United States is still working towards upholding the Constitution as that ideal of forming that more perfect union.
I could not agree more with you. Thank you so much for coming on today, Risa, and sharing your amazing story. And thank you so much for the work that you're doing within this space. It's extremely inspiring.
Thank you.